guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Incoming. Incoming is an American teen comedy that tells the story of Benjamin Nielsen, also known by his nickname Benj, a new freshman at his high school along with his group of friends who prepare for the next stage of their lives. One of these friends lets the group know that there will be a big party at his place to kick off the school year. Each member of the group has their own reasons for going and not going to the party, and they ultimately follow their own path. From there, everyone tries to navigate the challenges of adolescence from teen romance to mischief while having fun along the way. I have to admit, I was surprised by how much I ended up enjoying this movie, considering the mixed reviews it has. It's not the best movie of its type, considering how basic its story and characters are, but its commitment to presenting realistic teenagers, along with entertaining comedy and character development, make it worth watching. The main character, Benj, is a typical kid with a crush on a girl named Bailey, and all he really wants is to be with her. Of course, everyone around him except her seems to know this, and they give him endless crap about him not following up on his goal, and this makes him a relatable character for anyone who's been in that situation before. His actor does a great job at portraying Benj as both awkward and confident during the right parts. He can be uncomfortable in certain situations, but he's not totally socially inept, and his friendly demeanor made me want to root for him to overcome the situations he encounters, as well as get the girl of his dreams. Benj's friends are enjoyable too. Even though they don't have the same level of depth as him, they all have distinguishable personalities to help them stand out. Eddie is more laid back, Connor has insecurities with his height, and Dana, who tries to go by his brother's nickname Koosh, is overly cocky, and it's fun to see them all mix it up with each other. However, I personally felt Koosh didn't connect well with the rest of the group, not just because he's more antagonistic compared to the others, but he never seems present with them. If it weren't for him being the host of the party, as he claims to be, there wouldn't be much point to him being in the story, but thankfully the others in the group give him enough to work with. By themselves, these characters aren't all that remarkable. They have basic motivations in wanting to get with girls, hang out and party with friends, and just have a good time in general. It's a shallow premise, and yet this surprisingly ends up being a big strength behind this movie because that's exactly how teenagers are. Now, that's not to say teenagers are shallow people without any goals, it's that they don't have the same responsibilities or even the same problems as adults do. The small stakes behind this movie's story actually make it feel more important because of how well the characters in this movie are portrayed as teenagers. The characters speak with the same slang teenagers do, the actors actually look like and most of the time are teenagers, and the shenanigans they're involved in feel exactly like something that would happen to teenagers. There were so many times I took a trip down memory lane from my high school days just from seeing the antics that they all got into, and this made me appreciate the story even more. And it's not just the guys that are portrayed well either. The girls also get a fair bit of time to shine as well, like with Bailey deciding whether she should make a move on Benj, his sister Alyssa dealing with body dysmorphia, and the popular girl Katrina being obsessed with social media. The fact the filmmakers put this much work into as many characters as possible shows how much the filmmakers understand youth. It just feels nice to see teenagers behave like actual teenagers that have real issues that are serious to them without being punched down on by their writers. Of course, people do make fun of them in the movie itself, but the context feels more fitting and not as mean-spirited, so it's easy to have a good time watching everyone fumble and sort out their issues. Anyway, getting into the story itself, there's not much to say about it. It's pretty much about a group of kids trying to get into a party, and that's it. It's very straightforward in nature, which makes sense for the characters involved, although there is one thing I do take issue with it. Once the party takes place, everything about it feels stretched out and longer than it needs to be. The party itself is depicted quite well and seems like the type of event a high schooler would go to, but there's only so much that can happen at a drunk fest before things start to get old. Thankfully, the filmmakers shake things up by actually keeping Eddie and Connor away from Benj and Koosh at the party and have them involved in their own side story that just so happens to be connected to it. I enjoyed seeing how the scenario played out, and the final outcome for it was surprisingly heartwarming. I can also say the same for the romance angle that played out between Benj and Bailey. The idea of Benj overanalyzing moments between them and is clearly head over heels for her, while she plays it cool yet has some kind of spark there for him, was adorable to see, and the way their arc concluded was a pleasant surprise. I liked how much this movie focused on showing the beginning of high school as opposed to the end of it. It shows these characters confronting their insecurities head on so that they're more prepared for the future going forward, and this makes for a positive tone that fits well with a fun-oriented comedy. And man, did I ever have a blast with the comedy and how bold it was in this movie. The fact that Netflix opens it with a paragraph disclaimer in the top left corner saying drug use and drinking, sexual content, pervasive language, some violence and brief nudity, all involving teens, tells you everything you need to know about how wild it is. I'm not going to give away all the gags featured in it, but it's great to see so much variety with the hijinks everyone engages in at both the school and the party. My favorite bit in the movie involved a mishap Eddie and Connor have with a passenger at Taco Bell, and if you're aware of their reputation, you probably have a good idea of what happens in that scene. I also enjoyed how Bobby Cannavale contributed to the comedy as the cool science teacher Mr. Studebaker, who tries to socialize with everyone at the party. The way he casually swears around his students is kind of weird at first, but I eventually got used to it, and the physical comedy he takes part in related to his party experiments was genuinely funny. Some might take issue with how much over-the-top and crass content is featured in this movie, especially when it centers around teens. But for me, this only made the movie better, because my friends and I behaved like these characters and had similar situations happen to us too, so I connected with it, and the characters have lots of heart behind them and aren't just there to be gross and rude the whole time. This movie is very much an unconventional coming-of-age story, where teenagers are on their way to becoming grown-ups, but aren't quite there yet. The awkward period of them trying to fit in, please others, and trying to belong is all too common and relatable for teens and people who were teens, and I'm glad the filmmakers nailed this aspect, because it makes the movie that much more fun to watch. Overall, Incoming is an entertaining comedy that takes a basic story and retells it in refreshing and raunchy fashion. If you like comedies and want to see one that authentically and provocatively explores high school themes, you'd enjoy checking this out. While it isn't the most original movie of its kind, the way the characters grow and how they're portrayed is what makes the difference, and it definitely helps that it's also a hilarious experience. Watching this movie be this funny with teens coming into high school makes me hope for a sequel that shows how they behave going out of it. What did you think about this movie? Did you enjoy how it portrayed high school lifestyles and themes, or did you think it was boring and unoriginal? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Incoming. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Mexican crime drama, Untamed Royals. Bye bye!